In the vastness of the void, before the stars were born and the earth took form, there existed the nothingness, and a silence so deep and cold it threatened to consume any thought or sound. In this endless abyss there was Eru, the One, who in the world that was yet to be would be called Iluvatar. In the void Eru dwelt alone, save for the thoughts that moved within his mind, thoughts that hungered for shape and sound, for form and purpose. It was from these thoughts that the Ainur were born, immortal spirits, beings of immense power and unearthly beauty. They were the offspring of Iluvatar's mind, and they were with him before anything else came to be. Iluvatar, in his wisdom, conceived a plan to bring light to the shadows and sound to the silence. He gathered the Ainur before him in the timeless darkness and spoke to them, his voice like a great wind stirring in a desolate land. Of the theme that I have declared to you, I will now that ye make in harmony together a great music, and since I have kindled you with a flame imperishable, ye shall show forth your powers in adorning this theme, each with his own thoughts and devices if he will. The Ainur, inspired by the will of their creator, began to weave melodies into the void. At first, their music was a sweet and haunting tune, filled with the longing of beings who had never known light or warmth. Their harmonies intertwined like creeping vines in the dark, each note a delicate thread in a web of sound, fragile and beautiful, yet tinged with the sorrow of endless night. But among the Ainur was one whose thoughts moved in darker currents, whose mind sought out the hidden places of the void where light could not reach. This was Melkor, the mightiest of the Ainur, who had wandered alone into the desolate regions of Iluvatar's thought, searching for the secret fire that was not his to find. As he listened to the music, a deep discontent began to fester within him. The melodies of the Ainur were too soft and too gentle. They lacked the power and the grandeur that he desired. Tolkien writes, "But as the theme progressed, it came into the heart of Melkor to interweave matters of his own imagining that were not in accord with the theme of Iluvatar, for he sought therein to increase the power and glory of the part assigned to himself. And so Melkor began to sing his own theme, a dark and twisted melody that clashed with the harmonious music of his brethren. His notes were deep and thunderous, like the growl of distant storms, and they filled the void with a conflict that sent shivers through the fabric of the music. The other Ainur faltered, and their songs quivered before this new, terrifying sound. But Iluvatar did not intervene. He allowed the discord to spread, his eyes cold and inscrutable as the music grew wild and chaotic. Melkor's theme was powerful, and for a time it seemed as if his own dark music would overwhelm all others, bending the world that was yet to be born into his own image. The void itself trembled with the force of his will, and the Ainur recoiled. Their melodies turned to whispers before the might of Melkor's song. Yet Iluvatar was not blind to this rebellion. As Melkor's discord reached its peak, he raised his hand, and a new theme arose, deeper and more beautiful than before. It was soft at first, like the first rays of dawn breaking through the night, but it grew in strength, weaving through Melkor's dark music like a river of light. This theme did not seek to overpower Melkor's, but instead to harmonize with it, turning his discord into something deeper, richer, and more complex. Iluvatar spoke, "And thou, Melkor, shalt see that no theme may be played that hath not its uttermost source in me, nor can any alter the music in my despite. For he that attempteth this shall prove but mine instrument in the devising of things more wonderful, which he hath himself not imagined. Melkor's fury grew, but he could not silence this new theme. Again and again he sought to dominate the music, each time with a greater force. And each time Iluvatar answered with new melodies, each more profound and intricate than the last. The music began a vast tapestry of sound, where light and dark, joy and sorrow, hope and despair all intermingled to create something far greater than Melkor could ever have conceived. His rebellious notes were not erased, but were woven into the very fabric of creation, their dark power giving depth and texture to the music. When the music finally ceased, the Ainur were left in a silence more profound than any they had known before. The echoes of the great music hung in the void like the after-image of a dream, and the Ainur were filled with a deep, unsettling yearning, a sense that something had been lost in the silence, something they could not name. Iluvatar, seeing their unease, spoke again, and his voice was like the first breaking of the dawn. Behold your music. Before the Ainur's eyes, the darkness of the void began to shift and stir. From the echoes of their music a vision arose of the world yet to be. It was a world of light and shadow, of mountains and seas and forests and deserts. It was a world teeming with life, with creatures both fair and foul, and beings that danced and sang beneath the stars. But at the heart of this vision were the children of Iluvatar, elves, the firstborn, and men, their followers. These were beings of flesh and blood, destined to walk the world that the Ainur had sung into being. They were fragile and mortal, and yet there was something in them that the Ainur did not possess, a strange and terrifying freedom, a gift and a curse that would shape the fate of the world. The Ainur watched in awe as the vision unfolded and the world grew and changed. They saw the rise and fall of kingdoms, the spreading of darkness and the glimmers of hope. They saw the works of their own hands reflected in the world, twisted and broken by the passage of time, and filled with both pride and sorrow, for they knew that they too had a part in the shaping of the world, and that it was not a part they could walk away from. Iluvatar, seeing their wonder and their dread, spoke one last time. I know the desire of your minds, that what ye have seen should verily be, not only in your thought, but even as ye yourselves are and yet other. Therefore I say, Ea, let these things be. With that the vision faded, but the world did not vanish. It had been called into being, not just as a dream or a thought, but a living reality, a world that existed in time and space, and could be touched and shaped, and bleed and burn. The Ainur, who had once been only thought and song, now found themselves faced with a choice, to remain in the timeless void, or to descend into the world that they helped to create, to walk its lands and seas, to breathe its air, and to feel its joys and sorrows. Many chose to descend, becoming the Valar and the Maiar, the powers of the world. They took upon themselves forms and shapes that could move and act within the world, and they set about preparing it for the coming of the children of Iluvatar. But not all descended with pure hearts. Melkor, still burning with the desire to dominate, descended as well, bringing with him the darkness of his discord and the seeds of strife and suffering. As the Valar laboured to shape the world according to the vision, Melkor moved in secret, sewing his own designs into the fabric of Arda. He marred the earth and poisoned the waters, twisted the creatures that dwelt in the dark places, and spread fear and doubt among the children of Iluvatar. His eyes were in every shadow, his breath in every storm. The world that had been sung into being was not as it was in the vision. It was darker, more treacherous, filled with hidden dangers and lurking evils. The Valar, though mighty, could not undo the harm that Melkor had wrought. They could only strive to heal the wounds, to bring light into the darkness, and guard and guide the children as best as they could. But the darkness was not without purpose. For all terror and pain that Melkor brought into the world, his discord was still part of the music, and the music was Iluvatar's own. Even in the deepest shadow there was a thread of light, a glimmer of hope that could not be extinguished. And so the world was made, and in its maiming it was also made more beautiful, more real, and alive. It was a world of sorrow and joy, light and dark, a world where the echoes of the Ainur's music still lingered in the wind and the water, in the rustling of the leaves and the beating of all living hearts. In the end, the Ainulindale is not just a story of creation. It is a tale of rebellion and redemption, of the darkness that creeps at the edges of the light, and the light that shines even in the deepest of shadows. It is a story of a world that was born in music, a world where every note, every silence, every sound is part of a greater, unending song. And thus the universe of Ea and the world of Arda came into being according to the great vision of Iluvatar.